I'm Dr. Jeannie Schul, and I'll be discussing the mythopoetic imagery and the healing power of the chakras. Joseph Campbell, a leading mythologist, described this ancient system of symbology as coming approximately from the old Bronze Age times, about 2000 BC. And as you see the imagery here, there's specific symbolism for each of these energy centers, starting at the base of the spine and rising up to the crown of the head. And as you look at the base of the spine, even below that, there's this image of a snake coiled up, curled up, ready to awaken and arise. Yogic philosophy embraces this idea of the union of opposites. Often you hear it referred to as a body-mind-spirit practice. Also, the frame of reference of soma, psyche, and soul is used, meaning all are one, not separate entities. The use of breath work throughout yogic practice balances the inhalation and the exhalation. It also balances strength building with flexibility and mobility balancing. So in this threefold practice, the asanas, which are the positions that can be held or in a flow practice move through. Then there's pranayama, which is the very specific breath work that can be done separately as well as in harmony with the asanas. And then relaxation is used to come into a full body relaxation, often followed by a practice of meditation. All of these are part of the general yogic practice. With Kundalini Yoga, we are introduced to the 7 chakras, and you'll see the specific colors and also the directions in which these energy centers are projecting. If you look at the root chakra 1, which is depicted as red, and the 7th chakra at the crown, which is white, you get this sense that they're functioning in a vertical flow, whereas 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th chakras are projecting both in front of us and behind us, but they're on a horizontal plane. Again, this is the imagery, the symbolism of the chakras. So in yogic philosophy, there's this frame of reference that each of us have a subtle body. It circles around us, it flows through us, and this is where our life energy is perceived to flow. And this energy is depicted symbolically as a snake, the Kundalini, which lies rolled up or coiled at the base of the spine and sleeps until it's awakened, for instance, by a Kundalini practice. In the psychology of Kundalini Yoga, we're told that Kundalini Yoga presented Jung with a model of something that was almost lacking completely in Western psychology, an account of the developmental phases of higher consciousness. For Jung, his interest in this yogic form was not about philosophy, nor was it about religion. He was very interested in a psychology of Kundalini Yoga. And our goal for exploring the chakras, is to consider the regions of the body as they relate to these 7 energy centers. At the same time, we're not interested in appropriating this ancient energy system, but as a way of learning more about our own bodies, our own somas, through an understanding of the yogic chakra system. in the psychology of Kundalini Yoga, we're told that yoga represented, for Jung, a rich storehouse of symbolic depictions of inner experience and of the individuation process in particular. Jung attempted to lead participants to an understanding of Kundalini Yoga on the basis of their own inner experience, namely, the process of individuation. And I think it's important to understand that the chakras provided a way to add insight to Jung's understanding of the process of individuation, but did not necessarily offer an accurate description of Kundalini. Again, our intention is to explore the areas of the body guided by the wisdom of yogic philosophy without creating a Kundalini experience. So, by inviting the body into the individuation process, we can imagine complexes as energy blocks in specific areas of our body. And this, again, can relate to the somatic unconscious. So when we recognize that different areas of the body hold memories of past traumas, maybe issues of abuse, neglect, abandonment, athletic injuries, surgeries from the past, that might have been so challenging to cope with at that point in our development that they were repressed, they were shoved down and forgotten. Marion Woodman, a very significant Jungian analyst who was very supportive of the evolution of Pacifica Graduate Institute, with whom I was in classes on a number of occasions, strongly recommended the combination of Jungian analysis and body therapy, feeling that this combination would really facilitate the individual's process of unfolding. Bittlinger in Archetypal Chakras offers, for Jung, the chakra system reflects the process of individuation. The chakras are the body's own innate memory aids for the path of individuation. Our body constantly reminds us of the developmental processes within our soul. By directing our attention to each individual chakra, we experience them as reminders for stages in the individuation process. So in this way, we'll be exploring the individual chakras symbolically as well as physically, connecting them with our own physical bodies. One way I invite you to do that is to become aware of the part of your body that each energy center is focusing on. And then, as only you know, consider the history of injury, abuse, or neglect in that specific area when it is in relationship to a chakra. But also think about the pleasure, the triumph, the joy that might be held there for you. And then perhaps consider journaling about this, of course, for your eyes only. So each chakra has a location in the body. It has a psychological issue. It has an elemental property, a primary concern, goals, possible malfunctions, an agenda, an expression, and as we saw earlier, an associated color. So the root chakra, which is at the base of the spine, which involves your legs, your knees, your feet, is focused on survival. And movement that can be explored to experience this might involve walking in the water, maybe by the seaside, barefoot, walking barefoot in the grass. Movement also can be done rhythmically. If you want to think of a movement or a dance pattern, like the dances of Ghana, where the feet are beating the ground in rhythm. So anything where you're making that connection strongly with the feet into the earth and having that sense of reverberating all the way up your legs to the base of your spine. The element here is earth, and the agenda is to possess. The expression is often, I am. So again, getting grounded through the lower part of the body, connecting to the earth. The operating principle here is gravity, either giving into gravity or finding ways to escape it. All the visual art you'll see in this series is by Mara Friedman. And as we look at her image, we want to consider some of the goals of this first chakra are stability and this feeling of being grounded. Also living well and general physical health. But some of the malfunctions can include chronic lower back pain, immune disorders, depression, obesity, hemorrhoids, sciatica, anorexia. The list goes on. Knee problems, bone disorders, frequent illness, frequent fears, inability to concentrate are all considered part of this difficulty with first chakra issues. Bittlinger tells us that for Jung, the root chakra is the world of consciousness in which everything unconscious is still slumbering. Interpreted psychologically, the Muladhara is our consciousness. It is the place where the self and everything divine is asleep. Then as we move into the second chakra, we're focusing now on the pelvis, the lower vertebra, the abdomen, the sexual organs. And sensuality and procreation are important issues here. Fluidity of movement is one of the ways that we can connect with this energy center. The motion of Latin dance or of hula might be ways of experimenting with connecting with the second chakra, because the element is water, so it is fluid. It's also an emotional chakra, so the expression is, I feel. The area of the body is the pelvic bowl. So the pelvis is our area to consider. The goals are pleasure and relaxation for this part of our bodies. But the malfunctions that might come up can involve stiffness, sexual problems, sense of isolation, emotional instability, lower back issues, sexual potency issues, lack of feeling, or numbness. In Jung on Yoga, Nardi tells us, you feel, you adjust and explore, and we can dive deep to face dangers, mysteries, and fears as we use our talents, search for treasure, and gain renewal. So, chakra 3 is the area of personal power. This is the solar plexus, which is actually a nerve ganglia that is below the heart and in the area, maybe slightly above the navel. And the focus here is being in charge. So movement can embrace the idea of fight or flight. This is often imaged as movement stemming from karate, tai chi, any of the martial arts. So you have that sense of moving from your solar plexus outward into space, either at an object or figuratively. And the element here is fire, with an agenda of power, energy, and anger. And the expression is, I can. So in this process of finding your center of personal power, psychological issues can include trust, fear, self-esteem, and criticism. But the goal is vitality, a strength of will, and a sense of purpose. Again, Mara Freeman's image of yellow being this third chakra color. And for the third chakra, action and projection are the focus. With truth as a guide star, we are energized to take action toward goals, though we can get extreme, demonizing and idolizing. Then we come to the heart center. And this physically involves the chest, the lungs, the heart, the arms, the circulatory system, the shoulders, the upper torso, the breasts. And this is also considered the place of connection between the lower three earthly chakras that we just reviewed and the upper three spiritual chakras that we'll be talking about next. It's often considered in literature like the cauldron, where the lower three earthy chakras and the upper three spiritual chakras come together and meet each other in an empowering manner. Again, connecting spirituality with the body. So ways of exploring this energy center in an embodied way are movements with the arm gestures, embracing or pushing away, opening the chest, closing the chest. So you're moving through this whole heart region, and also full involved breath can help us bring focus into this heart chakra. Air is the element. Of course, the lungs are breathing in and out that air. And compassion and acceptance are the agenda, with the expression, I love. And again, the heart center is compassion for ourselves as well as others. If we want to think about a very practical example, on the airplane, we're always told that if the mask drops down providing oxygen, you always put it on yourself first before you help others. I think that's an interesting symbolism for us, that we have to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. Again, Imagery by Mara Friedman. Some of the psychological issues with the heart center involve love, as well as resentment, grief, and commitment, forgiveness, and hope. And the goals are to find balance in compassion and acceptance. Some of the issues or malfunctions of the heart center can include heart failure, asthma, allergies, lung cancer, upper back issues, breast cancer, loneliness, and codependence. So with chakra 4, we're looking for balance and intimacy. The heart is our tree of compassion for self and others. And over life's seasons, we find completeness as we stay true to love. Then moving into the 5th chakra, the center of willpower, we are talking here about the throat and the neck areas in our body. And a big issue is finding our own voice. So when we explore how do we embody this or explore this physically, characteristic gestures might be one way to consider it. Also how we carry ourselves. Is our head lifted or is it kind of contracting in toward our chest? So looking at our alignment, how we present. This is the center of willpower, and sound is the element. The agenda is communication and creativity, and the expression is, I speak. So in this throat center, we are looking at ways psychologically of making choices. One of the concerns is addiction. Our judgments are significant here, and knowledge is also. Some of the symptoms that come up with the throat chakra are sore throats, stiff neck, TMJ issues, mouth ulcers, poor communication, and thyroid issues. With the 5th chakra, speech and reason come together. From the lungs to throat and passing lips, we use language to convey feelings and knowledge, though words are as fickle as the wind. Then we move into the 6th chakra, often referred to as the third eye. It's in the center of the forehead, making an isosceles triangle with that third eye and your other two eyes. This is about psychic perception, intuition, imagination, dreams, and visions. If you are going to do some kind of a movement here, it might be very much dreamlike, focusing on your imagination, focusing on visions. Light is the element, and the expression is, I see. So for the third eye chakra, perception, intuition, dreams, visions, and light are significant. Problems can include a brain tumor, headaches or migraines, stroke, neurological disorders, hallucinations, learning disabilities, potentially even blindness. Again, the color here, sometimes considered amethyst, sometimes considered this kind of cobalt blue color. With the 6th chakra, visions and systems are the focus. Using our third eye, We gain working knowledge of the world's many invisible processes, tap life's numerous resources, and judge wisely. Finally, coming into the 7th chakra, this is the center of spiritual power. It's considered the crown of the head, and this is the connection with our higher self, with God or gods, goddesses, or the goddess. Movement might involve the idea of dancing with divinity, dancing with our highest self. Thought is the element, wisdom is the agenda, and the frame of reference is I know. And this reminds me of Jung's statement in an interview late in his life when he was asked if he believed in God, and Jung answered after a pause, "I don't believe, I know." So the crown chakra is connecting with our highest self, to know, understanding, wisdom, thought. With this image, we consider values, humanitarianism, faith, inspiration, spirituality. But some of the issues that can occur are confusion, apathy, paralysis, genetic disorders, MS, and becoming overly intellectual. So in the 7th chakra, unity and awakening are the focus. When we activate our Kundalini energy, chakras open and align, boundaries and polarities vanish, and ego merges with the cosmos. Coming from Jung on yoga. So the goal, again, with Jung's frame of reference, coming at this from a depth psychology perspective, is that the path of the chakras brings us into wholeness. It's a process. It's not linear. It's spiraling up and down the spine depending on where we are in any given moment of our own development. And so with that, I invite you to consider some of the practices that bring awareness to those certain areas of the body. Our references are available here, and I thank you again for your attention.